My friends, welcome to this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. My name is Luke. Thank you very much for tuning in to this news episode. There is a story breaking out of Canada today in regards to a missing hiker who survived 50 days in the Canadian wilderness. Or did he? The name of the individual who is the focus of this story is Sam Benestick. He is 20 years old from British Columbia. He failed to contact his family after setting out on a 10-day adventure. When he set out, he was supposed to be out again for 10 days, and on this hiking trip, he was going through the rugged terrain of the Redfern-Keily Park. As he was out on this adventure, he disappeared. 50 days later, after setting out, he was found alive. Actually, he really wasn't found. He walked right out of the forest out onto the trail. Initially, when this story was breaking, it was considered an amazing tale of survival. But now, as more details are coming out, people are beginning to question whether or not it is what this appeared to be initially. Since the story broke, the entire ordeal has been met with a combination of celebration and also skepticism. In this episode today, we will be diving into the details, into the facts, into the mysteries surrounding this story. Because I'll be honest, there's some oddities to this that do not make a lot of sense. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started, and first let's talk about his plan. On October 7th, Sam embarked on his solo adventure. He left his vehicle at the Redfern Lake trailhead, which is a popular starting point. Even the details concerning the launch of his trip are controversial and are filled with misinformation, information that I have not been able to sort out correctly. So I'm just going to share the details that I know of with you all. I'll share with you all what's being stated. So initially, it was reported that he set out on foot for this adventure. With that being said, some news articles are stating that he started his adventure on a motorcycle. So he parked his vehicle one place, rode his motorcycle someplace else. Other reports are stating that he didn't have a motorcycle and that he started from the trailhead with his car. Based upon what the police have stated concerning this case, it sounds like he left his vehicle and started out on foot. But do know that there is all sorts of odd information about a motorcycle being involved. Honestly, who knows what the truth is. Again, every single news story for this case seems to be different, throws in different details, and unfortunately, a lot of it does not line up. Anyways, I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and let's go over what the police stated concerning the situation and what happened. They stated that Sam told them that he camped out at his car for a handful of days at the trailhead. Then he walked to a creek mountainside where he camped for an additional 15 days. From there, he moved down the valley and built a camp in a dried out creek bed. After that, he became lost. The details aren't exactly known what happened, and ultimately he walked out of the forest and was self-rescued, I guess you could say. As far as the timeline goes for his disappearance, this is what took place. Sam headed out on October 7th. After 10 days, on the 17th, the family had not heard from him and he had not returned. On October 19th, the family located his vehicle at the Redfern Lake trailhead, and from there they contacted emergency services. The first public statements from the police were released on October the 21st, and they stated that Sam was an avid hiker-camper. He had a tarp with him along with an 85-liter backpack. It was also stated that he had warm clothes and a lot of peanut butter. Shortly afterwards, a search and rescue operation was launched with 120 individuals. That amounted to 3,500 hours. Not only that, but they had helicopters in the air, fixed-wing aircraft, drones, ground teams, searchers on foot, and on ATVs. Ultimately, they found no sign of Sam. Days turned into weeks, and of course, hope began to fade. Ultimately, the search had been scaled back, and after 50 days, 2 pipeline workers encountered Sam along the trail. It is reported that he walked out with 2 walking sticks and that he had taken his sleeping bag, cut it up, and had tied it around his legs and feet. From there, he was airlifted to a hospital in Fort Nelson, where he began his recovery. It should be mentioned that there are different reports stating different things here. Some state that the pipeline workers fed him and then took him to the hospital. Other reports state that an ambulance came and got him. Which one is true? I have no idea. As you can see here, there are quite a few discrepancies when it comes to this news story. Ultimately, Sam himself knows what happened, what took place, but he has not released any sort of public acknowledgement of this event. Ultimately, it's this lack of information that has caused so much skepticism concerning his story. Speaking of which, people are very confused about the aspect of the motorcycle in relation to his vehicle. Did he set off on foot from the vehicle, or was it from the motorcycle? Where exactly was he? Next, everyone, most people find it very hard to believe that he survived for 50 days out in the wilderness. in such a harsh environment with limited supplies. Now, let's go ahead and let's talk about the time frame for a second here, because there is aspects that people do not understand about this that need to be cleared up. So, he was gone for 50 days, but he wasn't lost that entire time. Obviously, he had a lot of food and equipment with him. You have to remember that he was at his vehicle camping for numerous days. Then he set out for 15 days. Then he decided to do something else, and then he became lost. So it's not like he was out there for 50 days surviving. He was basically out on a trip doing what he wanted to, and we really don't know how long he was lost for. Again, going back to the lack of details, a lot of this has spawned speculation and doubt, and it's not helped by the poor reporting that has been done concerning this case. Another problem that people have with Sam's story is the wolf chase, because it's not typical wolf behavior, and the entire thing is questionable. Let's focus on that last part for a second. While there's been no public statements made by Sam, it is being reported that he spoke to the manager of the inn that he was staying at once he had recovered and had been released from the hospital. He told the manager that the reason why he became lost was because he was chased by a wolf. This aspect to his story is not believable because it goes against the general nature of wolves. First off, there's a lack of evidence of any sort of presence of wolves in the area. They found no tracks or anything like that. Concerning wolf behavior, this would be highly unusual because wolves do not attack humans. That is exceptionally rare. In fact, wolves are very shy and they want nothing to do with human beings. Over the last 50 years in the United States, there's only been 2 fatal attacks. Over the last 20 years, there's only been 12 attacks by wolves. Not only does this go against general wolf behavior, he is someone who is supposed to have knowledge about how to handle these sort of situations, but yet he panicked and became lost his bearings, ultimately resulting in this major ordeal. Because of these facts, it is now believed by many that Sam has basically made up this part of the story to explain why and how he became lost. Before wrapping up this episode, let's talk a little bit about the supplies that he had with him. Ultimately, not much is known. He had a tarp, a backpack, warm clothes, a hatchet, and a ton of peanut butter. I read this one article, and this kept being brought up over and over and over again. In fact, his mother stated that he had a ton of peanut butter with him, and when he walked out of the forest, he had 1 jar left. Ultimately, my friends, when it comes to this case and what took place, very little is known. At the same time, there's a lot of misinformation. The news articles concerning this are so conflicting. There's all of these little details that don't amount to much, but they do spawn a lot of skepticism. Ultimately, the biggest question in my mind is this: why did Sam not signal for help and rescue when the search teams were out? Those who are familiar with the area, with the search itself, where he was located at, where he stated he was, stated that no matter where he was, he would have seen the helicopters. This was a massive search over the area that he claimed to be at. But yet, no signal, he didn't walk out, and obviously he was well equipped, he had plenty of food, and also energy. According to police, they are no longer investigating this matter because there's no criminal element to it. They also stated that from here on out, they will be sharing no information concerning this case at all, which I think is a shame. Ultimately, this is a very strange story, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts concerning it. Comment down below, share. What do you all think has happened here? Again, this guy was not lost for 50 days. He was not surviving for 50 days. That narrative is completely bogus. Again, this guy was at his vehicle camping for a couple of days, went off for 15 days, then he went someplace else. We're talking about a couple of weeks at the most. In the end, this does not appear to be the ultimate tale of survival. It certainly isn't the story that was initially reported. There are some serious questions here that do need to be answered, I believe. Again, this isn't about someone who survived for 50 days. This is a story about someone who went out for weeks and weeks, did not provide a detailed plan to family and friends. From there, who knows what happened? Maybe he was intentionally lost or unintentionally lost. Ultimately, we do not know. What we do know is after 50 days, he walked out of the forest with a jar of peanut butter. Why didn't Sam have any form of communication? He had no phone, no GPS, no map, no compass. It just makes no sense. What he did have, apparently, was a bunch of peanut butter. So, I guess that's better than nothing, you know what I mean? Folks, comment down below, share your thoughts, let me know what you all think about this story. I think this is one that is going to continue to develop over time. I hope it does, at least. I'm definitely interested. If you have found this episode interesting, hit the thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Everybody, take care, be well, strength and honor.